Hello YouTube. I wanted to make a quick video on my walkaway story coming from, I guess, a perspective of somebody who is American Latino, Mexican American, uh, from Southern California. And I think my story might be a little different. I mean, I haven't seen everybody's walkaway story, but I would say that mine probably starts about 15 years ago. And finding out that I am pre diabetic at the time. And finding out that I was pre diabetic, I decided to try to be proactive, change my lifestyle a little. From what the doctor had told me, he didn't give me much hope as far as my diabetes concerned, but still, I would do what I can. And in doing so, just making little lifestyle changes, not drinking my calories anymore. And that's really where it began. It was not drinking my calories anymore and turning to artificial sweeteners and things like diet soda. And as I'm sure many people out there know, diet soda has gotten a bad reputation, very much demonized. And in doing my research and not taking people's words for it, I saw the news, and what they were saying as well, and all the Facebook posts, always coming up, and I never took their word for it. I'm not incredibly educated, but I did learn enough in high school to understand what it is that I'm reading. And when I would click on the links or look up the studies and read the studies, it would always end inconclusive, that there was no actual evidence showing that aspartame ever caused cancer. But it was kind of along the lines of, the Russiagate, where there's no science saying that it does, but there's no science saying that it doesn't. And, aspartame has been around since, 1980? And at this point, we are 40 years since it came out, and yet I have yet to know anybody who's ever gotten cancer, or ever heard of anybody getting cancer, or yet to see a TV commercial like they do with cigarettes or alcohol of the victim of somebody from diet soda or aspartame or Splenda, whatever it is that you want to fill in the blank with. And so from that moment on, I just never took what I saw on the news, or especially what was posted on Facebook, seriously. These were headlines meant to, essentially be clickbait. And once you read them, it was never quite the same. I mean, I saw, stories on Facebook where a black man was shot by police and beaten, and where the news was making it sound like it was Rodney King Part 2. And then when I would actually go into the story itself, it was not what they were making it seem. It was not what the headline was. The headline was just to get you to click on it. And it was never what they said. Once the story was actually told, I was like, wait a minute, that's not what the headline said. That is totally not what happened. So little by little, I just stopped believing the news. I mean, there's some stuff there. There are some truths, but you take it at face value. You do your own research, and you form your own opinion, because that's exactly what they're doing. Is they're giving you the opinion that they want. And being in Southern California, obviously I grew up with, you always vote Democrat. Republicans hate you for being Mexican, and the Democrats are the way to go. And just little by little, just looking at the neighborhoods that I grew up in, the barrios and everything that surrounded me, and the community always voting Democrat. And what did we have to show for it? Very little. High crime, high poverty, always complaining about how things aren't getting fixed, things aren't getting done. When I sit there and I would actually read, seeing how many of the people in the community, the politicians, would steal from the community itself, where, they would end up all of a sudden like, oh, investigation going into, politician being, charged with embezzlement. And, not to say that, the Democrats are the only ones that are doing it, but where I do feel at this point in my life is when a politician or a group can rely on your vote without question, that is when things go wrong. I mean, because from San Diego, where I am at now, when I look at the East County, where they vote Republican, I mean, I forget the politician's name right now, but that's exactly what he did. He embezzled from East County. But, his father had the seat for like 20 years, and he inherited the seat from his father because they had the exact same name. So people were just so used to, hitting, scratching in that name on their voter petition, that the son thought he was invincible and could do whatever he wanted. And so, that's essentially where my story comes from, and where it goes is that Democrats have not earned my vote. They have very little to show. And when people sat there in 2008 wanting change, and Barack Obama wasn't change, he was the same old politician, different skin color. And I guess if you call that change, I guess it's change, but it's not the change that I think people were really hoping for. And like him or not, whether he's crude, vulgar, not a politician, but that's just it, is that Donald Trump is change. People get mad because he's not a politician, where he's not checking his mouth or telling you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. And that makes people upset. And why are you getting angry when you want to change? And this is it. When you sat there, and it's probably not how you thought change was going to come, but it's here. Trump is ruffling feathers, on both the Democrat side and the Republican side. He's sitting there saying that I don't care what the party thinks. This is the way that things are going to be done. It's not where I sat there and make promises and then break them. If I made a promise, I'm going to follow through. And this is where, at the same time, Republicans also let me down a little, because there was things that they did not back Trump on. So I'm not going to fault Trump for that, when, those are other Republicans where you have to question, maybe another Republican should step in and take their place. So my walkaway story took a long time, essentially 15 years. But it was just little by little realizing that all the lies that had been told to me my entire life, and the laziness that I took because of life, trying to date, work, so on and so forth, that, I just never took the time to research for myself. And that's probably why, younger people tend to be in general more democratic in their youth, especially when it's shoved down your throats in schools. And then as they get older and have more time and do more research, end up switching parties. So I'm happy to say that despite what my family thinks and what they like, I voted Republican back in 2016 for the first time. And I'm going to be voting Republican again come 2020. So this is my walkaway story. I'm not sure if you guys will appreciate it or if anybody would see this, but I just wanted to tell it from mine. And the reason I called myself is American Latino is because, yes, I know more correctly would be Mexican American, but truth be told, even as a child, I was born in the U.S., I was raised in the U.S., so I feel more American than I do Mexican. Not that I'm ashamed of my Mexican heritage or anything like that. There's things that I love about the culture and obviously the food, but I am American first. And another thing to be said is that, I've gone through a lot of health issues in the last year to where I'm no longer able to work. And the U.S. takes care of me while, being at a border town and being right next to Mexico and spending a lot of time in Mexico. I'm just going to flat out say it. If I lived in Mexico and was born and raised there, I would probably be dead right now, just because the level of care that would be provided to me is not at the same level as it is here in the U.S. So even when I worked, and if I do get a chance to hopefully be blessed and go back to work, I feel that I owe more, and I'm saying this as far as my tax dollars are concerned, I owe more to the kids in, like, let's say Baltimore, the poor kids in Baltimore, than I do to the children in Mexico. That's just what I'm saying, because this is my country. My country takes care of me, and I take care of it. And that's just point blank and period. I'm sure there's going to be people out there that upsets them, but that's the truth. And I am happy and proud to be an American. And that will never change. So, like I said, this is my walkaway story. If somebody gets something from it, great. If nobody sees it, that's okay. I just wanted to put it out there from myself. So, thank you, YouTube, and hopefully everybody does have a wonderful day.